Hello everyone, and welcome to Managing Projects with Microsoft Project 2007. My name is Russell Trobo, and I will be your instructor. During this presentation, we're going to talk about resource management. We're going to look at three key features of resource management using Microsoft Project 2007. One is putting in resource information. The other one is looking at how we put in assignment information. And then the last thing we're going to look at is resource sharing and resource leveling. So let's get started. Human Resource Plan is part of Project Human Resource Management knowledge area. It clearly defines the roles and responsibility of the project team and the project team members, provides the project organization charts, and creates the staffing management plan. And one good tool that you can use to help input information into Microsoft Project 2007 is your Responsibility Assignment Matrix, which clearly identifies specific functions, work packages, activities that need to be done, and assigns them to either a specific individual, a department, or a job title. Also, there's another variation called a RACI, Responsibility Assign, Consult, and Inform, which is just another variation of a RAM. Once again, that is a good project document that you could use to help input resource information into Microsoft Project. So let's get started with Microsoft Project. In order to view resource information, once again, if you go to your main menu bar and select the View menu, it'll bring up your certain project views for your view bar. However, it also brings up the views for your resource graph, your resource sheet, and your resource usage. And as I stated, if you can access the same thing, if you have your view bar turned on, it will show you the views with the graphic representation or the visual representation. And of course, your resource graph will display with the graph. Sheet has individuals, and usage will provide how many hours a day they're working by the work periods, where your resource sheet is providing just information on that particular type of resource. And of course, this is your resource graph. The nice thing about your resource graph is you can clearly see it will display over-allocated resources as well as those resources that are allocated. So as you can see here, Russell is over-allocated by 100%. In other words, he's doing twice the amount of work based on his job position and title than anybody else within the project team. Your also resource graph will show you under-allocated, by hence if they're not fully allocated 100%, which could be by nature of the project. Maybe they're not working full-time on the project. They're only working a part-time. So make sure you take that into consideration when you're looking at your resource graph. Of course, your resource sheet is just showing you information about all your resources. In this case, it has your resource name. Once again, it's not specifically for personnel. It could be for materials, equipment. And there's a material label. If it was for materials, then you could put a label in there identifying what type of material. You can provide initials, what group, if you want to go ahead and group resources that may be working together, maybe out of a specific department, say test, development, quality assurance, quality control. And of course, it also provides you there in the red showing you that those resources are over-allocated with the little exclamation note there under the indicator column. And if you mouse over that, it will clearly show that these resources are over-allocated. And the nice thing is it displays everything in a tabular format, so you can clearly see everything and who's all the resources assigned to and working on the project. Of course, our resource usage, which is now a little bit different from just resources. Now we're looking at how the resources are being used. Once again, not specifically toward personnel, but also if you're looking at specific materials or equipment as well. And as you can see within the diagram, it clearly displays the resource and the assignment information. Remember, the resource sheet provides us resource information. Our resource usage will provide us resource and assignment information. So as you can see, Russell, once again, is over allocated. It's working 24 hours on 4 hours on goals, working 4 hours on developing the purpose, and 16 hours developing the flow charts. The nice thing too is if you look up top, it says unassigned. It'll also show you activities or tasks that have not been assigned a resource, so you know those activities and tasks need a resource assigned to them. And of course, once again, you can look at Mike and it shows you all of the hours he's going to be working or has been working on those specific task or subtask. Now, in order to open and view and edit resource information, I like to first talk about our Resource tab under Summary Task Information. Reason I want to talk about it here is because we're in Resources. So when we were talking about task in the last presentation, we skipped over the Resource tab. If you click on the Resource tab for a task, you're going to display, in this case, the task name is Analyze. As you can see, the resource that's been assigned to that is Jolene. If there's assignment owner there, it would be indicated. She's allocated to this task 100%, and the cost based on her hourly rate and the duration of this task is going to be $320. And that's all the Resource tab and the Summary Task Information provides. Of course, now that we're talking resource and we've got our resource sheet selected, all you need to do in order to bring up your resource information now is to double click on any resource to open up the resource for that selected item, or you can go up into your project menu from your main menu bar and scroll down and select view or resource information. So once again, you just double click on the resource and that'll bring up your resource information window. As you can see, it's very similar to our task information. We have 4 tabs: General, Cost, Notes, and Custom Fields. Of course, notes and custom fields will be the same, and in order to do custom fields, you would do that from customizing the fields under the Tools or View menu. So let's take a look at the general information. Of course, it gives you your resource name as well as the initials. Initials could be a person's initials, it could be a position. However you want to add to that resource name. If you have several resources using the same first name or last name, then you could put initials. You can also put in their email information, and you can create a group. Once again, as I stated earlier, if you have certain project team members working out of a specific group, you can add those and put them in groups. Windows account allows you to bring in accounting or coding account information. You can have certain codes that you can input for resources. And of course, the booking type, what are they, how are they booked? Are they committed? So by selecting the booking type drop-down arrow, is it proposed or committed? And of course, in most cases, we know that as we're planning and preparing for a project, everything is proposed, and they're really not 100% committed until they show up for execution. You can also select the type of work. Once again, selecting the drop-down arrow. Once again, here we go. Is it regular work? In other words, personnel, human, material, or are you going to track it by cost? Of course, it shows you your resource availability as far as when the resource is available. This will come from your resource calendars, which is part of your project documents that you'll produce when you acquire the project team, as well as your project staff assignments. And of course, your change working time we've already talked about. That will bring up your project calendar to where you can go and set the non-working days and the working days. And the other key thing there is when we're talking, if you're actually select material, then under there you can see grayed out. You can put in and type in the material label. Also, you can select whether it's coming out of a generic information as far as cost, or is it coming right from the budget. Of course, when we move on to a material, once again now I selected material. Of course, Russell is not a material, but once again you will see now you can type in your material label. Once again, same information remains, initials, group, code. However, now is it inactive, we'll be able to. And of course, your resource availability for materials will not be able to be displayed. So let's go ahead and look at our cost tab. Of course, now when we're talking about cost, of course, once again, it's going to reiterate which resource name or which one was selected. And then you have your different default cost rate tables. A is default. B, you can go in and actually modify to different rates based on either a percentage by increasing or decreasing the value, per use cost, per unit cost. You can actually, as you can see, you can put in your standard rates, overtime rates, or per use cost. And of course, your cost accrual, once again, by selecting that, is it a start? Is it prorated? Is it based on finishing it? What is the actual accrual? Is it, once again, start, paid up front, prorated, prorated over the period of the project life cycle, the work package, or is it occurred at the end or when they're completed? And you simply would just select the cost accrual for that resource, and then it will be displayed in there. And of course, you'd have to go in and set up your standard rate, your overtime rates, of course, an effective date if they're working on a contract. So next we're going to take a look at our Notes tab, which is going to be very similar to the task information notes. Once again, same features. You simply type in your notes, or you can insert an object that associated with that resource. And then of course that will display and be able to be viewed in your indicator window and your project plan window. And of course, as you can see, this resource should be leveled based on a day-by-day setting. In other words, I am over-allocated, or Russell is over-allocated. So we need to probably maybe just look at resource leveling him on a day-by-day basis to where he's not over-allocated 100% every day. And of course, the Custom Fields tab, once again, if you select Custom Fields in your project or in the table entry, there we go, long pause. Yeah, Custom Fields. And of course, if you select the custom fields, it will bring up your custom field display, which will show you any custom fields that you created in your table entry or your table. If you right-click on that, it will have the option where we insert a column, hide columns. You can also customize fields. If you did any customized fields, they will also be displayed in here as well as in your task information. Okay, next we're going to talk about assignment information. So now we're looking in our resource usage. Once again, you have to go to that view, whether you do it by the view menu or your view bar. So you would select the resource usage icon in the view bar or resource usage from the view menu. And of course, that will bring up your resource usage plan. And of course, you would actually just click on a task. As this case, you can see I have several unassigned tasks. So I would just double click on my navigation task, and that'll bring up the 3 tabs of my assignment information, which are going to be general, tracking, and notes. Of course, in your assignment information on the General tab, as you will see, it has the task. The resource is unassigned. You can put in the number of hours that work is required to complete that assignment or that task, as well as the units. Once again, you can put in the start and the finish dates are inputted from the actual task information of when it's supposed to start, when it's supposed to finish. And of course, your cost rate table is by default set to A. And of course, as you can see, my booking type is committed, and of course there is no cost. And here's where you can actually do the assignment owner and select that so it's displayed in your summary task or task information. Next, we're going to take a look at the tracking tab, so go ahead and select that. And now once again we're able to look at task and resource. It is grayed out because so you can't edit it because it's tied back to your task. So you don't want to be changing this in your resource information or in your assignment information. So now you can actually go and look at the work hours, how many hours or the duration it's going to take to complete this task, how many hours have actually been worked on it, what is the percent of work complete, and how many hours are remaining work to be done. And then you can actually put your actual starts and actual finish dates. And this will also help you track the resource for earned value management based upon what you planned and what your plan value or PV and your earned value, which is nothing more than the percent of work complete times what was budgeted. And if you take that amount and minus it from your plan value, you'll have your schedule variance. If you divide it, you'll have your schedule performance index. Once again, it's just letting you know from when you actually started, how far you should be along and where you should be. Once again, the last thing there is it shows you your cost rate table. And that's what key in tracking earned value management is percent complete and what's remaining. And of course, for cost, it would be the same values plus what was actually spent. So let's go ahead and select our Notes tab. Same setup as task information, same setup as resource information. Once again, you just simply type in any notes, insert an object, and of course that will display in your indicator column on your main project plan window. Now the other thing is you can assign resources by simply going to your menu bar, selecting the Tools menu, and then go down and assign resources to a task. This is really useful if you've got some unassigned tasks and you've got a large resource pool of people. You can actually go through here and actually start assigning tasks using this feature, which does the same function as the Assign Resource window does. As you can see, the task itself is a home page, it was a website. And of course, if you click that Resource List Options button there that's highlighted, that will provide you with some other filtering options that you're able to filter the resources by all resources, selected resource. You can even apply filters, available to work X amount of hours a day. You can add more resources to your assign resource option. And simply you would select the individual or individuals and select the Assign button there to the right to assign them to that task. You can remove a resource, replace a resource. If you have a highlighted resource, in this case Betty, and I select Graph, it will bring me up a graph of how many hours she's working, whether I'm able to use her for this task, in this case Analyze. And of course, closing will close down the Assign Resource window. And of course, there in the little note there, you can select multiple resources by holding down the control and clicking on the resources that are applicable. Once again, this is a great way to add resources in the initial, because that way you can just go through and click on Task and just simply go through your resource list instead of trying to figure it out. It's all clearly displayed. And of course, the other thing we're going to talk about is resource sharing. Of course, in order to access the resource sharing, you want to go to your main menu and select the Tools menu. And of course, there you want to scroll down and select Resource Sharing, which will then bring up your submenu, Share Resources. If you have a resource pool and you're using Project Server, then you'll be able to update your resource pool or refresh your resource pool. As you can see, I'm not connected to the resource or Project Server. And there also, you can see under the Tools is the Assign Resource. So that was the previous window we just talked about. So once again, select the Share Resources, which will bring up your Share Resources window. As you can see, this is the name of the actual project plan. And you can use your own resources, or you can select Use Resources From if you had that resource pool. And once again, it's grayed out because I'm not connected to a Project Server. And of course, if you have conflict with calendar or resource information, you can make sure that the pooled resources take precedence or the sharer takes precedence. In other words, which one has priority. You would go ahead and make any changes and of course select OK to share those resources. When we talk about resource leveling, of course, you would once again go to your menu, Tools, and of course you'll remember seeing the Resource Leveling, which was right below Resource Sharing. Of course, resource leveling is just that. We may, as in this case, have over-allocated resources that we may have to take off, but more specifically, we may have under-allocated resources that we can put to work on other project tasks or activities, and this is what resource leveling allows us to do. Of course, your first option there is whether you want it project to automatically calculate and level resources, or if you want to do it manually. Nothing wrong with doing it automatic, but just remember that it is done by a computer program. Therefore, there are a lot of variables and other things that may not be programmed into the program, so it may cause some complications or problems for you. I prefer the manual. And then you can look for allocations on a day-by-day basis, week-by-week, different types of bases as far as resource leveling. Minute by minute, hour by hour, month by month as well. And of course, you can clear leveling values before leveling. In other words, wipe everything out. And of course, your next option there is you can set your leveling range that you want to do for the entire project. Of course, the name of this project is Russell Trobo. So you can level the entire project, or you can select the level radio button and pick specific time frames from to that you want to do leveling calculations. And of course, your last block there is resolving over allocations, which is also part of resource leveling. You can pick the leveling order, which can be by ID, standard, or priority standard. Once again, you want to look at level only within available slack. Of course, floats is the same thing as slack. So if you have certain activities that are not on your critical path that have some slack or float, then you only want to level within available of those available activities, so that way you're not taking anything out of the critical path. Also, you can select whether you want the leveling to adjust individual assignments, or if you want to create splits in remaining work, and where the work is split up to where you can assign other resources to work on that to catch up a task or to complete a task early. Or you can select also if you want to resource leveling with proposed booking type, member committed, proposed. And of course, if you select your help button, bring up the help window and provide you information on how to do resource leveling. Of course, if you select your clear leveling button, it'll pop up and ask you once again whether you want to do the entire project or just selected task. And of course, Level Now would level everything and set up your window plan, your project management plan would be adjusted accordingly. And of course, you would just simply select level resource, and then identify any resources that you want to level. Set up your resource level calculations, the leveling range, resolving overallocations. So let's take a look at some key things to remember about resource management, resource information, and assigning information. Once again, remember that when you want to view resource information, that you select the appropriate view to be displayed in your project plan. We'll start with the resource sheet. And of course, now as you can see, we have several people over-allocated. That should be leveled on a day-by-day basis. We have a lot more information in here now. And of course, this is our resource sheet, so once again, by double-clicking on them, we're going to bring up our resource information. Once again, we can fill out here and quickly go through this. And of course, that's going to be the same thing now. We're in a resource, so task information is now changed to resource information. And of course, we can view the different columns and insert new columns. We can look at our resource usage as well and display that information. My remaining availability. Of course, it's all blank. There we go. Got lost there for a second. And once again, we can select that and bring up our assignment information. So there's two quick ways to enter assignment information and resource information on how we're going to track. And you can see it starts showing you the percent of work I've completed, how much hours remaining work I need to finish. I've only done 8 hours. I got 28 hours more to go. We can move our split bars so we can see more information there. Of course, the work availability and what's been done on an hourly basis. So if we come up to this current week, we can see exactly what everybody's been working on. And of course, we can look at our resource graph as well. But first, we need to go and select an individual. And there we can see that, yes, I am over allocated. So those are the three resource graph, the resource sheet, and the resource usage. Once again, it's the quickest way to fill out your resource information. And of course, your graph just provides you a view of looking at over-allocated, under-allocated resources. Of course, as you can see, we had problems with our resource usage, so we can actually go up to Project, Tools, Level Resources, and then we can do it automatic. Look at over-allocations on a day-by-day basis, clear the leveling values before, and everything we can set up for the level for the entire project. Let's just go ahead and level now. And of course, I'm going to have some errors in here because we have some, so let's just go ahead and skip those all. Add to the entire project. And of course, that would go ahead and resource. As you can see, I'm no longer over-allocated. So looking at my resource sheet, I fixed my problem. However, I probably caused more problems. So just be careful when you're resource leveling that. You know, you can have a tendency to, when you do resource leveling, is to actually under-allocate resources. And that concludes resource management, resource information. Remember, when we're talking resource management, we're going back to our human resource plan in project management, which will clearly identify the roles and responsibilities. And the two things it's going to produce for us is our project staff assignment. In other words, clearly identify everybody by position that is going to be working on the project, which activities require different types of resources, whether we're talking materials, equipment, human resources. All of this information can be quickly inputted into our resource information by clicking on or double-clicking on any of the resource to bring up our resource sheet, where we can start inputting information as well. Assignment information we talked about. Now we're not looking at the resource sheet, we're looking at resource usage, so make sure you change the view. And then by double-clicking on one of the resources in the resource usage view, I'll bring up your assignment information dialog box where now you can actually assign information. Or my preferred method is just go up to the Tools menu option from your main toolbar and select Assign Resources, which clearly shows all your resources, and you can actually pick from your resources that you have available. And of course, the last thing we talked about was sharing and leveling resources. Of course, sharing resources is mostly going to be set up with a project server and a resource pool. And of course, the last thing was resource leveling. It will clearly help you resource level any underallocated as well as overallocated resources. And of course, in our next lesson, we're going to talk about organizing project information, grouping information, filtering and sorting information, and more importantly, how we can format the view of project information so that way it can be better displayed. And then that concludes this presentation of resource management. If you have any questions or comments related to the information covered in this presentation, please use the question and comment section located on gogo.com. Thank you for viewing this presentation. Take care, everyone, and goodbye.